The At Your Instep podcast is brought to you by ComicTown. Check them out at www.comictown.net and search for ComicTown Gaming Center on Facebook. Hello, and welcome to At Your Instep. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Dave.
I don't have any sound effects this week.
And Mike. No, silence is better. Silence.
He's there, I assure you.
Yeah, he is here. You can't be. This is not.
So there's
this is an audio format.
That's not how this works.
There's this terrifying tension of all right. I'm going to try and say something witty, and then you blank and you can't think of anything, and now you've waited too long to say anything, so you just can't say anything.
Yeah, that's good. It's great. Well, welcome.
I'm going to Jim Webb it. Pass.
We have another fun and exciting episode for you guys. So we have a little sprinkling of community. There's not a lot that's necessarily happened worth talking about in the community.
Yeah, we're talking like bare bones minimum.
Yeah, but whatever.
Bare bones.
And then
spooky.
Yeah. Emphasis on bones, right? Because Halloween and stuff.
What's part of our community topics?
Zombie, black cat. Just keep throwing out other spooky things.
Black cat is a zombie cat.
Yeah, it's true. Fair enough. You got me there. Anyway, and then we have our competitive segment, which is decently healthy. We got lots of stuff to talk about. We also have indie coming up, so we'll kind of blend that conversation in with the competitive section once we get there. And then we have a spooky, scary special segment. That was pretty great. That was great alliteration. We're going to talk about the... well, you know what? We'll just wait till we get there. But it is spooky.
All I can think of is the Book of Mormon now. Spooky, ooky, ooky.
And then we have our typical wrap-up stuff. So let's go ahead and get to take care of that community stuff. So GPINDY is actually going to be having a costume contest. Which is actually kind of fun. When do you know when that is actually being held?
It's on Saturday.
So it's going to be on Saturday?
There's categories of magic related, non-magic related, and then there's age groups, so 16 and under and then 17 and over. So
gotcha.
So that means all the people who would come and do awesome actual cosplay, there's a magic related category, and then there's whatever. Now, what's really funny is the rules. As we were looking at the rules yesterday, it does distinctly mention that no costume is no costume, and you cannot show up nude. And the fact that I had to put that in the rules is really sad.
It's frightening. It's actually frightening. Hopefully, anyone who was planning on doing that has read this and won't show. I don't want to see any naked people.
Oh, now that I see that it's specifically against the rules, I guess I won't.
I don't want to see any naked people at GPINDY. That's not. Also, Christine Sprankle's not going to be there, right? Because that's kind of not fair for the magic one.
Well, yeah. I don't know. If she was hired to be there, I'm assuming she wouldn't be
she'd probably have a clause in her contract, can't participate in any costume contests.
That'd be the person that you'd want judging your costume contest.
Oh, for sure.
Right? It's
at least the magic one.
Being really critical, sizing up their dogs, checking jowls and everything.
Anyway,
nice teeth. Good form.
Does this costume have any breeding papers?
Only the finest costumes.
Now, I only found out about this because I just randomly came up to Mike. I was like, Mike, we could totally pull off the Mario and Luigi thing at GPINDY, right?
The best part is I was like, oh yeah, there's a costume contest. You read about that? And Dave's like, oh no, I just thought we could dress Mario and Luigi.
Don't get me wrong, that wouldn't win because that's not very original or anything, but it'd be funny.
It would be funny, but I don't think I want to. I don't want to play Magic all day in costume.
Not really.
It'd be really cool for a round or two, and then you're just yeah, I'm done.
Could you
take this big mustache
but
off.
You guys could do it, and then you could just have the big comedic gloves, and then try to shuffle your deck. I think it'd be funny.
I could wear my my Wario hat and
wow.
a just kind of a weird. Zigzag mustache.
Yeah, perfect.
I have that. I
that
mentioned that you could set up sleeves taped to your hand that have fireballs in them, so you could shoot, puck, puck, puck.
I am sad that you guys aren't going to do this, but I understand. But now you've literally given some of your best ideas to someone else. And that's pretty bad.
We're going to see, 20 pairs of Mario
exactly.
and Luigi's.
Yeah. Good job. I have a costume I could technically wear, but it's actually just pajamas, so I'd just be super comfy all day.
So it'd be half the people there anyway, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly. But mine's like tiger pajamas, so yeah. But I won't do that to you guys. I know we could. It would be really
What are you
embarrassing.
dressing as?
What? No, well, they have these things called kigurumis, which are out of Japan, and they're basically like pajamas, but they're like animal themed pajamas. And they also have like Pokemon one and stuff like that as well. But they're basically just like.
Oh, which one do you have? Tiger?
I have a fierce tiger one.
Oh man, spooky.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, you've never seen me in pajamas, so it's probably pretty scary.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I didn't feel like I that's really right to do that to you guys, because you would probably like, hey, we're here at the site. We'll see you later, Morgan. Don't associate with us ever.
You're a cat. We get it.
You got it.
Stop like cleaning yourself.
Anyway,
Morgan's really into this.
yeah.
He didn't say tiger. He said fierce tiger. Okay.
Well, that's the entire title of it. I don't want to do any disservice to the costume. Anyway, we also have confirmation that Commander 2015 spoilers start next week, so that'll be exciting. Usually they sneak in some competitive cards into these and some nifty reprints. So hopefully we'll be seeing more of that. They are going to be enemy colored commanders. So we'll see what happens. It could be fun for like maybe even tiny leaders to see if they are. I mean, I'm sure these are designed well out of that tiny leader's conception, but who knows? Maybe they kind of coincide with something, and they have some lower costing enemy commanders that could fit into that. And there's plenty of awesome enemy colored cards that they could reprint.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we have seen in the past that they have printed some cards that have had impact on Legacy, and I guess Vintage to some point. True Name Nemesis.
Yeah, we're looking
a
at
card.
you.
And also Containment Priest, I believe.
Yeah.
Right, was last year.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, if you're into, I guess, the Eternal formats, then this might be something you want to pay attention to, I guess.
I mean, they've already shown rumored, but they've got images of it. Like Eternal Witness looks like it's getting a reprint in this product as well.
Yeah.
So in addition to that, you also get you generally get some value out of it, and some stuff that this is a way for them to sneak in some cards that are hard to reprint elsewhere. So
Yeah,
we'll see what they do.
and then like print some cards that shouldn't be printed ever.
I'll be looking at it from a cube perspective. So
Yeah, that's
there's always
true.
that too.
Oh
if
man,
that's your thing.
there's definitely some awesome cube cards that have come from Commander. So the Commander sets. But that's really it for the community, guys. So it's been very very lackluster. I was hoping that something new would break out, but just really hasn't been anything. But let's move on and go into the competitive segment. So we're first going to start with Star City Games. The Open was Legacy. I had a total of 464 players, which is a pretty decent enough showing for a Legacy tournament. And it was taken down by Tom Ross. Big surprise there. Playing Infect. Again, huge. I can't believe it.
Yeah, it actually was like, not really surprising, but
what is the opposite of surprising?
Well, what is surprising is the last time he actually won an Open was 2010.
That's a while ago. Yeah,
he's won like 2 invitationals.
Mm.
Well, he went back to back last year, but the actual last time he won an actual Open was actually another Legacy Open back in 2010 when he was playing Zoo. And I remember actually watching that. And he won because his opponent got a game loss in the finals.
Oh, wow.
He had
Okay.
multiple warnings. Like, his opponent was playing lands, and he had multiple warnings for, like, missing triggers and stuff like that.
Oh.
So it was kind of awkward, but...
That's super awkward.
I mean, yeah. Tom Ross used to play a lot of Zoo back in the day. Played it at the Pro
He
Tour.
seems like a man that likes attacking creatures.
Yeah.
And whether
So-
it's a lot of creatures in red or one creature doing 10 plus damage.
Yeah, it could just be a 1/9/9 with Infect.
Yeah. I mean, he's
That
fine
works
with
too.
that. Or just like a bunch of little dudes. Whatever. Yeah, that's fine. Good job, Tom Ross. We also would have the first really high-level competitive sighting of Night of the Reliquary and Retreat to Coral Helm.
Yes.
So we see that kind of rear its head, which is pretty interesting. And this list did top 8, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it finished in the top 4.
Top 4. I mean, that's pretty good. But you were saying that most of the time when you saw it on camera, it was did not have the any sort of combo going on with it.
Yeah, in the top 8, they didn't. He never cast a retreat. So, Night of the Reliquary was actually just really good.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So really good Magic cards continue to be really good. We'll keep our eye on this developing
Spoiler.
story.
I liked how he had like the Kesselgolf on his list though, which I think some of the modern lists haven't done yet, and I really think that's the key card that makes that combo like really sort of attractive because Night of the Reliquary is big, but like it has to do something more than just be big, to like get through in Legacy, and like big plus trample, like all of a sudden you have a threat. So even the decks that are trying to do unfair things, like you're threatening to just like just kill them, which I think is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, there was a deck tech on this, so if you want to see the entire list, you can check out Star City Games archives and find it there. But I mean, the gist of the deck, it's pretty. Just looking at the list here, it's a pretty basic. I mean, we've seen decks like this before, kind of like the Bant mid-range, with Green Sun Zeniths and mana creatures, Knight of the Reliquary, and backed up with Brainstorm Enforceable, etc. So the idea of it is nothing new, though the Retreat to Korra Helm's kind of a new angle that you can take with it. Whether that's worth running through jumping through hoops to make that happen, I don't know if it's worth it, but this is something I guess kind of new that showed up. Everything else looked pretty stock from what I saw.
Well, this deck becomes like a thing, then we have to find a new name for it because Reliquary / Retreat is lackluster, to say the least.
Yeah, it's not exciting.
Yeah, no. So someone come up with a good one. I don't know. Something to do with retreating and lands. I don't know. Summer vacation. Sure. Because you have a retreat. Like a summer retreat.
I kind of like that summer retreat.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. Can we call it like a zoo vacation?
Sure.
So, because it's a retreat can also be like a vacation, right? And like you're playing zoo. So yeah, I like family zoo vacation.
Right.
I had to do a lot of work to get there, but I like this.
Yeah,
I
sure.
like
You got there. We'll give it to you. Anyway, anything else from this lovely open that we want to discuss? They had some Premier IQs that we'll just skip over.
Yeah, I really didn't watch. I watched literally just the finals when Tom Ross beat. I don't have the person's name. I apologize.
His or her, his opponent.
His opponent was playing Storm, and Tom Ross was the one that was winning on like turn 3 or whatever. So.
Oh, interesting. Fun format.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we don't really do Legacy, so...
No,
I'm sorry.
That's not why you come here. We've been through this before.
If you come here for Legacy, I apologize. But we just don't really play Legacy.
We'll have to figure out what happens when we have GP Columbus in next year. We'll have to figure out what we're going to do for that. Cause
I think we've got some local players we could just like tag team in.
Yeah,
Just be
yeah.
like we'll just like do like a weird like they'll pretend to be us as your end step, just do the different voices.
No one wants to pretend to be me. Let's be
Okay, well
fair.
you could still be the host.
Okay, that works. I'll contribute just about the same amount of information, so it'll be fine.
Hi, I'm Morgan. I'm here with Doppel Dave and Doppel Mike. Hello. We are here to discuss Legacy.
Anyway, so moving on to GP Beijing. And this tournament was awesome because it was team trios, which is sweet.
So sweet.
It's a great format. If you haven't had a chance to play team trios with you and two of your friends or strangers, honestly, let's be fair, do it. It's a lot of fun. This tournament was won by the team of Craig Wesco, Rich Hohen, and Mike Cron, which is pretty cool. I mean, I know that obviously everyone knows Wesco, but I'm pretty sure that. Rich Owen is still a pretty prominent player. He may not play as much, but I know that I recognize that name at the very least. And I know that I don't believe that Mike Ron has played a lot, but when he has played, he has done very well. I think that people were tweeting about that. How his Planeswalker's point page must be low, but all the tournaments are high level tournaments. So I think that's pretty funny to see.
Yeah, but Mike Ron's kind of an old school guy.
That makes sense.
Both him and Richie Hohen were kind of limited specialists back. And they used to have limited only pro tours back in the day. So those were the pro tours that they would often dominate. Mike Crone has won a Pro Tour before, I believe in 2007.
Makes sense.
I remember seeing. So I mean, these guys are
That's-
pretty experienced at the high
Right.
level. But yeah, you're right. Like we haven't seen him. We saw Richie Hohen like make a top 8 run at Magic Origins Pro Tour.
Mhm.
He finished like 10th or something or 9th. But before that, he really hadn't been seen too much. So I was honestly, I mean, I wasn't surprised to see Wesco at this tournament, but the other guys, I was surprised to see that they had won, just because I wouldn't have expected them to travel halfway across the world.
So their occupations, Richard Hohen's occupation is listed as probability analyst, and Mike Cron's is risk manager. Like it seems like that's just the role they play in the team. What do you think the chances are he has this? Hold on. Let me analyze the probability.
It. Yeah, can you give me some numbers? Yeah.
How risky is this? I don't know. Let me manage it.
Oh man. I mean, in the team they defeated in the finals is a pretty good team to have to be faced up against. We have Yuya Watanabe, Makahito Mihara, and then Yuki Ichikawa. So it's like,
Yeah,
oh, cool.
That's a sick team. Yeah.
But that's what you find with these team events is like most of the time the cream rises to the top, and we've seen the time and time again with these trios events where we just have awesome teams in the finals or what have you.
Yep. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Even one of the other teams had Takamura on it, the gentleman that just won the Pro Tour. So,
Yeah.
he's just running it back. Sorry, Kazuyuki Takamura. Forgot his first name.
Yeah.
And then there was another team, a Chinese team that I didn't really recognize any of the names, but they're holding it down for
The home team.
the home
They
team.
got scooped into the top 4 by
Yeah.
the Wesco team.
They seemed
as well.
very excited about that.
Yeah,
'Cause
they-
in their bios, they were like, "Oh, thank you so much, thank you so much for scooping us in." So, but yeah, it was cool. Just another one. I don't even know if they had coverage for this one. I don't think they did. But
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
That's pretty awesome, though. Anyway, so it's limited again, not something you come here for, but still something to note for sure.
It's like we're driving around doing the city tour, like, hey, there's a museum. We don't really go to museums, but if you want to go to that museum, it's there.
Go for it.
Over here you see the aquarium. Yeah, we don't really go to the aquarium. If you want to go to the aquarium, there's the aquarium. But ahead of us, here's the sports complex.
So yeah, we also had a standard GP in Quebec City. It was a total of 804 players, and it was taken down by Dan Lanthier. I'm gonna try.
I think it's Lampier.
Lanthier.
Yeah.
It's a French name. I know it. I know it's said differently,
What's
but
that supposed to mean?
they're difficult to say because French as a language is sometimes hard to, say correctly if you're just reading it on paper because you don't know all the rules. They spell faux, F-A-U-X. That's hard if you don't know what that means. If you don't know how to say that word.
I spell it F-A-K-E.
Yeah, that's generally how I do it too. But.
Very true. Anyway, and he was playing Dark Jeskai, and it was a Dark Jeskai finals, if I'm not mistaken. Is that
Yep.
correct?
Yeah,
I didn't watch any of the coverage.
It was, not an exact 75.
Not an
meter,
exact,
but it was
yeah,
pretty close.
not a complete mirror match, but both playing the same archetype.
Yeah, we'll get into a little bit more of like the specifics. We're gonna do a little bit of a standard metagame breakdown where we talk about decks, and we'll kind of get into, differences and things like that in the list. But
Sure.
before we get into that, I just want to say real quick about. I really like the coverage team for this GP. I watched a decent amount of coverage, and for this GP they had Numata Nomi, so Kenji Higashira, and Frank Karsten made the trip over, or I guess he probably just stuck around after the Pro Tour.
Right.
And then they had Marshall Sutcliffe, which I don't think they've ever had those three together before, but it was pretty entertaining. I think Frank Karsten is one of the better commentators that they have. He usually just sticks to the European GPs, of course, but it was cool to see that mix. Hopefully that's something they can do more going forward, because I enjoy those guys.
Yeah, he's definitely a reason. Like, I don't tune into a lot of European GPs because the coverage is always sort of hit or miss. But when he's doing coverage, then it's like, all right, this is worth it just to hear Carson break stuff down. So yeah, it was. I don't doubt having him this weekend was nice.
And I don't know. I don't know if Kenji was actually planning on playing in the GP, and they like recruited him. I don't know what happened. Like I was watching his stream, and it sounded like he was intending to play in
Yeah,
the
so
GP.
he said he was like testing for it, like playing Jeskai
Yeah.
and like getting ready for it. So I don't know.
I don't know what happened with that.
maybe.
Maybe they had someone bow out at the last minute, and he was there. So they're like, "Hey, do you want to do this for us?" But I mean, like he did a great job. It was really.
Do I get a Pro Tour invite? Oh no.
Oh, don't do that to Kenji. But no, yeah, it was a really good team. I do agree with that for sure. Quite entertaining. So to move back to top 8, we do also have some notable names that did top 8. We had Reed Duke playing Esper Control, and then Pascal Maynard playing 4-Color Rally. Now I know that I saw some of Reed Duke playing, and like him playing Esper Control, it was just like every time I saw him play, he was just always winning, like just insurmountable. Like I don't know how he could have like lost the games that I watched him play. It was pretty masterful to see.
He was on camera a lot. I guess that would be the one downside I have on the coverage is like it was really they had Reed Duke on a lot, and
He's just so pretty.
I mean, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I like watching Reed Duke play, and it's great. But he's playing a deck that isn't really that exciting to watch. He's playing like an Esper Control deck with basically just Ugin as a win condition.
Yeah, no, it was great. Like you would just see, you watch a play, and he'd get into positions where like you'd ask his opponent like, why haven't you conceded yet? You're dead. He's killing you slowly, but he's going to kill you. It's an eventuality, and there's nothing you can do. Please scoop, and you have a literal better shot of getting him down games 2 and 3 than you will ever have winning this game.
Yeah, and at this point, I've started playing this format. I played in FNM last week. I played in a tournament last night. So I've gotten some matches under my belt at least before this GP coming up. And one thing that I noticed right off the bat is that the matches go to time a lot. Even if you're not playing solely, just with all the fetches in the format, and a lot of the games tend to be a little grindy. So I mean, even if the players are playing at like a decent pace, you can oftentimes go to time. So I don't know how Reed Duke didn't have any unintentional draws. I don't know how he did it, but he somehow pulled that off.
It's called winning all of your game ones. Just always.
It's a fair point. I've seen a lot of decks start. I saw it last night a couple times just playing a local standard event, but people putting either dispels or duresses into the main to try and like eliminate some of those like free roll game ones, like because like sometimes you can like if you tempo one spell, it can turn a game. So it's interesting to see if like even though this deck isn't really that like Reed's the one who's doing things with it, like but. It's kind of people start like adjusting for this as you start seeing like I don't want to just lose game 1 to this, so let's figure this out. So it's sort of interesting.
And then we can go into and take a look at see some of the other notable. Do we talk about the top 8 deck lists or?
We could talk a little bit about like what top 8'd. I think. I mean, there were 4 Dark Jeskai decks.
Yeah,
we should definitely. It was the most common archetype overall. It continues to be.
Yeah, and they were all fairly similar. There was one that was different than the others, but they were all pretty much based off of the Pantheon list from the Pro Tour. So the list that John Finkel and Owen Turdenwald top 8'd with many taskers, many Ojutai's commands and Kolaghan's commands, things like that. So it's basically it's really geared for a more grindy game, and that's kind of that's the list that won essentially with a few tweaks. Even a lot of the people that didn't top 8, I know Yo Larson. I think Yo Larson was actually playing the same list that Olivier Polak-Rotman. I probably butchered that. I'm sorry. I believe they were playing the same exact list. Which is just a few changes off of the Pantheon list. So, I guess we're starting to see the format kind of come around a little bit. People are starting to make little tweaks to, adjust to what they expect to see, and definitely people are gearing more for the Jeskai mirror, or at least they should be going for it because there was a ton of it.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely one of the most popular decks in the room.
Yeah. Let's see. We have the metagame breakdown here.
Yeah.
Let's see. So
it was the second most popular archetype.
Yeah, that's surprising to me. So Abzan was actually the most popular day 2 listed with 23 decks and about 25% of the field. Dark Jeskai being 19 decks, so it's about 21%. Now there were 3 just straight Jeskai, so no black, I guess. So I mean it's about even then if you look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean I think that's what I would expect. I would think.
I definitely want to. So like, we have a number of different Jeskai lists. I want to take a look at Pascal Maynard's list though.
Yeah.
He's bringing. He's rallying. I guess. Is what we want to
he's
say.
rallying up the peasants.
He played a 4-color rally deck, which we knew that a rally deck could still exist. We've seen these aristocrats decks sort of popping up. So sort of waiting for one of these. And this telling me that like Abzan was the number 1 deck on day 2 is like even surprises me more that this deck is sitting here when Anafenza was listed in one of the top 5 cards. So I wonder if he dodged a lot or like did he find a way to like consistently beat that matchup? But like this deck is pretty. I mean, 4-4-4-4-4-4-3-4-4.
Yeah.
Like it is sort of, even though it's like different colors, it's very much reminding me of the Pro Tour deck, the blue-black one that Calcano was playing. Again, like 4-4-4-4-4-4-4-4. Like this is going to do the same thing every time. Can you do something about it? So sort of interesting, and it's playing like some pretty good cards here. Catacomb Sifter as a 4 of, obviously Jace is a 4 of, and you have like the Nantuko Huskell Visionaries of Laporte Cutthroat like build with Grim Hair specs. But we do see him adopting the Sidisi's Faithful tech that Calcano was going on, and that card was doing some crazy things. But one interesting thing here: no Lilianas.
Yeah, that's kind of strange.
Maybe like, I mean, so maybe you're playing the Catacomb Sifter over that just for the sheer fact that you get to control your draws. I mean, LSV just recently released a video series on this, and at least I know in his match 1, he definitely like just repeatedly like uses the DC Faithful to bounce an Anafenza a lot, and I know that's why they have I believe Murder's Cut. Yeah, they have like 4 Murder's Cuts in the sideboard, and like that's your Anafenza attack. That's what that is. Like this card kills Anafenza, and that's what it does.
Yeah, I want to say, and this is just my guess, but it's possible that it was too hard on the mana.
Yeah,
because of being a double black. I mean, obviously we have a 4-color list, and you're essentially splashing for a double white card in Rally the Ancestors. So it's going to put a lot of strain on your mana base, and it's very possible that it just wasn't worth it to stretch the mana to play Liliana. I mean, obviously, in this style of deck, that's where like a card like Liliana shines. It's very easy to trigger it. It does a lot of cool interactions that you want to be doing, but if it's going to get clogged in your hand or it's going to slow you down too much, it may not be worth it. So that's my guess. I haven't played with this deck and haven't seen it too often. This specific version is kind of new, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely like his mana base is interesting. He's got 16 fetches, including 4 Evolving Wilds.
Mm-hmm.
But then he's playing 4 Jaddy Offshoot in the board. So it's like, okay, it's interesting. It's like the turns that you can like mini rally for those, and then just like play a fetch land and like gain a bunch of life and like bide your time. So I definitely like to see how this deck plays out. And I don't know if you got to see it on coverage at all, but it does seem like it looks like a good rally deck, but it does not look like a very exciting Collected Company deck to me. I don't know. Like it just seems like you could have a lot of companies where you're just like Elvish Visionary, Sidisi's Faithful. I paid 4 mana for this, so I don't know. Like I think that's the one downside of sort of taking out like Liliana and even like having like the Fleshbag Marauder and Merciless Executioner in the sideboard is that you could have some pretty weak Collected Companies. I will say, Collected Company at the end of turn, hitting a Jace and then untapping it, flipping your Jace and Flashback Collected Company probably is a sweet line.
Oh yeah. So like I said, LSV recently put out some videos on this, and they're entertaining to watch because it's LSV, and
it's an entertaining deck to watch, and LSV's just
entertaining himself. So if you do want to kind of see,
is he entertaining himself or is he entertaining himself?
Probably both.
Oh, fair enough.
So if you want to see this in action, I would definitely suggest checking out his videos.
Yeah. The other, I guess, new deck that we saw in the top 8 was Jake Mondello's green splash red Eldrazi ramp deck. We saw a lot of the face-to-face guys playing this, actually. I know Mike Seegers was playing this. Unfortunately, Jake was the only one who actually day two'd with it. But he did take it all the way to the top 8, and he was the first seed going in. So I think we'll kind of get into like some of the specifics on this once we get into our metagame breakdown. But yeah, this was very different than what we saw at the Pro Tour, really. And supposedly it has a good matchup against Jeskai. Whether that is true, they had mentioned that I guess Jake had said that his Jeskai matchup was good. He did lose to Jeskai in the top 8, but that can still happen even if you have a positive win percentage.
Right.
So we'll see how true that is going forward. But I mean, this may be. I could see the format shifting a little bit to this style, to kind of fight all the Jeskai decks because it was everywhere.
Yeah,
and I expect it to still be everywhere going forward. So
I think it's interesting. I wonder. He says he has a good Jeskai matchup. I wonder if they actually have a good Jeskai matchup. I think they might have a good Dark Jeskai matchup because that deck is trying to be really grindy now. It's they're playing, possibly 2 like Dragon Master Outcast or all of these Ochitai's commands. Like I'm sure the draws where he goes like if he had like double Mantis Rider, that seems like it's really bad for this deck. But if they're playing like the slow game and like just building their board, then like they're not interacting with this deck at all. Like by the time that they're coming online, you're just like, well, here's an Ugin. Hey, here's an Atarka. Oh, here's an Ulamog. And it's like cool if you Ochitai's command an Ulamog. You know what I mean? Good on you. You still lost 2 permanents, and that deck isn't very good at having a lot of permanents on the battlefield, especially now that it's not running like I said, like the regular Jeskai version that might also have going Mantis Rider into Gideon with like straight Jeskai might be the kind of thing that really punishes this deck. But the Dark Jeskai decks aren't doing that, so I wouldn't doubt that in those matchups he probably does feel pretty good.
Yeah, I mean when you. So like you take a look at this comparatively to like old red green versus old Jeskai, that was like more of a tilted towards the Jeskai matchup, but Jeskai of old was so much more aggressive than the Jeskai list that we're seeing right now.
I mean, just like imagine like Seeker the Way as your 2-drop versus Jace.
Yeah,
like which one of those cards is attacking? You know what I mean?
It's probably not Jace.
I mean, it could be Jace if you're crazy.
I mean, if you have like Gideon and you emblem, right?
I also want to say, like, I played against this last night, and it's a card that hasn't seen a lot of play yet. But Sanctum of Ugin does some like really good work in this deck because one of the issues with these ramp decks in the past has been like you ramped into your fatty, I dealt with your fatty, right? Well, this deck like with multiple Sanctum of Ugins, and he's playing like 4 Sylvan Scrying, so like he's going and getting them. Like it's like cast Ugin, sack this, go get an Ugin. Like just so you know, if you deal with the first one, the second one's coming for you, right? Or like, oh, cast my Ugin, go get an Ulamog. Like once again, like I am going to sequence these into each other. So it does some pretty gross things, and make sure that you always have a follow-up threat, which is really big against even the Jeskai lists.
Yeah, I hate Magic. They do things that make like cards have to be in the same decks that should not be like canonically or like flavorfully. Like, oh, I'm gonna play Ugin and I'm gonna play my Ulamog. Like, stop.
Well, I mean, like, Sanctum of Ugin is there to imprison Ulamog, so like Ulamog needs to come home. Like,
Daddy's home. What are you doing here, Ulamog?
all right,
you ruined the surprise.
Or like the decks that play Jace and then they play up Nyxlis. Like they aren't friends. Stop it.
They're not enemies.
I
mean, Jace took a Hedron out of his head, let him become the demon he is today.
he was always meant to be.
All right, fine. But there's some that play Gideon and I'm Nyxlis.
No, also doesn't matter. Nissa is the actual enemy.
Well then,
we haven't really seen that one yet, but it could
I
happen.
mean, they're the ones who fight in the storyline.
Well, I don't think,
or Nahiri, if that's where you want to go.
I don't think Gideon would like it.
You're showing how weak you are in your flavor game. Step it up.
I'm sorry.
Step it up.
Not all of us could be you, I guess.
I'm going to try to rein this back in here, guys.
Got to step your strudel game up.
Yeah.
That's a long callback.
Yeah, that's a great callback. That no one else gets with us.
All right, so we're kind of already like talking about this deck, so I guess we'll just roll into our standard metagame breakdown. That seems
good. You know, with a large standard Grand Prix coming this weekend, it felt pertinent to just sort of assess the decks that are hanging around you at the top. No particular order, just these are all the decks you could expect to see.
Right. So we're already talking about Jake Mandella's Green Eldrazi ramp deck, and we kind of talked about some of the threats that it plays. So we see 4 Ugins, 3 Ulamogs. I wouldn't be surprised to see 4 Ulamogs in some lists. Dragonlord Atarka is another card that it can ramp into that is just a huge threat that can just have a huge impact on the game. And then kind of the early game, this one has main deck Jadi Offshoot ×4, which is kind of janky, but I guess the red matchup is that bad.
Most of the red in green based decks. Like the black decks don't do that. They're playing like sifters and stuff, so they have more roadblocks. But
Yep.
most of the green red based versions are either running that card or retreat to Kazandu in the main. Like just something that allows you to gain a bunch of. And I personally like retreat better. Because like once retreat, granted, obviously this comes in turn 1, but like when you play like retreat into like explosive vegetation, like you're buying yourself a ton of time while also like representing a real threat. So, but either way, like if you're playing against these decks, they tend to have one of those two things to sort of slow the game down.
Yep.
Now, I do want to cut in here because there's also the IQ, the premier IQ that was in St. Louis. Was won by Mono Green Ramp.
Right.
So there is a Mono Green version of this deck. Now they run Foundry of the Consuls as another colorless land, and also something to take note that some of these cards, some of these decks play in the sideboard is Winds of
Yeah, that's actually a really common sideboard card.
Yeah. So it's a fog that has a ferocious fog. And it says prevent all combat damage to be dealt this turn, obviously, and it's ferocious. It's damage dealt by creatures your opponents control instead. So
Yeah, I would imagine that's just for the Artarka Red matchup where they try to kill you in one shot.
Right, and you're
just
like,
go, oh, cool.
you
Play this
got a
fog.
little windy.
Yeah.
Oh, also playing Windstorm in the sideboard of his deck too, so he has a wind theme sideboard.
Wow.
Nice. One other thread I just want to talk about in this deck, which I guess probably seems pretty intuitive, is 4 Hangerback Walker. It's a card you can play early. You can jump block, a couple times with it. Also, can be a huge threat.
Yeah.
Like if you have 10 mana, you're like, oh, I don't have anything else to do.
Very
I guess we'll
scalable.
Play
as it
this.
turns out.
Also an interesting interaction you can do is if you are able to cast a Hangerback Walker where X equals 4, you can trigger your Sanctum of Ugin
Yep.
to then go ahead and fetch.
Like
What is it? What does it get? A colorless creature? Yeah. So you can usually, you just get your, another Hangerback Walker, I guess, or is it? No, that doesn't work.
It's colorless
Sorry.
creature, yeah.
It goes and gets
It's
Ulamog.
It gets Ulamog.
It gets
Sorry,
Ulamog.
It gets Ulamog.
But yeah,
It also plays really well. Hangerback Walker always plays well with Ugin. Like it's
Yeah.
like oh I don't want to minus it this far. Well, I'll just have this like giant Hangerback Walker sitting here. So you can see that this deck has some holes in it. Like the player who was playing the mono green ramp last night got destroyed by a Tarka Red. This deck is running 4 Seismic Rupture on the board, but like it doesn't have a good answer to some things. Like even like Seismic Rupture does not deal well with like dashed creatures. So like you can see that there are some holes for a deck like this that can be exploited. But if you want to cast Ulamog, this is the style of deck to do it in this format. I mean. He's going as far to play like Map the Wastes. By the way, Map the Wastes actually hilarious with Hangerback Walker.
yep. Bolster 1.
Bolster 1. Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yep. So this list is playing Hedron Archive, Explosive Vegetation, Nissa's Pilgrimage, which is a perfect deck for that card. Map the Waste, like you said, and this one actually has Sylvan Scrying. Now, not all of the lists have that, I believe. That's an interesting card. Can get some of the cool one-ofs. It can get like your one Haven of the Spirit Dragon if you need to get an Ugin back. I'm imagining most of the time it's either getting a Sanctum of Ugin or a Shrine of the Forsaken Gods.
I mean, you have one mountain in the list and one Haven.
Yeah.
So then you have to cast Targa, so it's probably actually getting that mountain or that Haven fairly. Like that's probably the first target most of the time.
Yeah, maybe post board. Yeah, there's nothing. I guess Dragon Lord Tarka in the main deck.
Yeah, as I'm saying, a Targa's the only thing to cast. So.
I know that Mike Seegers play the same deck, but he did have Wooded Foothills in his list. For some extra fixing. Maybe.
Yeah, I kind of like the Wooded Foothills, especially with the offshoots. Like, I mean, they're only getting like one extra life sometimes, but like if you have more than one offshoot, like it gets kind of it might be worth it. So.
Yeah. But yeah, that's this. That's red green or green, mostly green.
That's ramp.
It's ramp. That's
that's the ramp deck of this format.
I mean, we know people that these are the exact type of decks that they like to play, and if that's your thing, then this might be something to look at going forward, and especially if it has a good Jeskai matchup, then it's going to have a place in the metagame. So
yeah, I mean Jeskai definitely. I mean like Mantis Rider is very good, like I said, but man, they have a hard time beating a resolved Ugin. that is for sure. So, what's the next one, Dave?
Just want to go into Jeskai.
Yeah, let's
like
talk Jeskai.
This is the deck that you need to know about going forward. If you plan on playing Standard, you're going to see this a lot. I played against like 2 mirrors at FNM alone, and I know it was all over the GP.
It'll be everywhere at Indy still.
Yeah, a lot of people considered it the best deck at the Pro Tour, even though it didn't win. So, I guess let me pull up Lanthier's winning list here, because his was pretty standard, I would say, at this point. Let's see. All right, here we go. All right, so yeah, he was basically playing almost the exact list that John Finkel played at the Pro Tour, and in most lists that I've seen, they have 4 Jace, usually 2 Soulfire Grandmasters, 1 Dragon Master Outcast at the very least in the main deck, 4 Mantis Rider, and 3 Tassigars. That's kind of the base that we've seen. Now, there are some variations out there.
One of the top 8 lists in Quebec City has Piankier Nalar. Actually, there's 3 of them.
Yeah, that list was a little bit different. I was going to talk about that one a little bit. That one's still considered Dark Jeskai, but it's a little bit different take on it. This is the one that we've seen, and the spell package is for the most part pretty much the same across all these lists. Usually they're running 2 Dig Through Times, 4 Crackling Dooms, some mix of Fiery Impulse and Wild Slash, 2 or 3 Kolaghan's commands, and usually 3 Ojutai's commands to go along with that, and then some kind of some utility spells. They have an Utter End in here, and usually a couple of dispels. I have seen lists that have Duress main. But there's always his Lanthier's list is playing 1 Sarkhan, the Dragon Speaker. A lot of people dropped that from the Pro Tour list. I saw a lot of people playing like Dragon Lord Silumgar in that spot, which I really like, especially if this ramp deck is going to be is going to be a thing going forward. So.
I did get to Ultimate Hadouken last night because Dragon Lord Silumgar. So it's cool.
Yeah, but this is kind of like this, I guess, the stock list at this point, and this is something you should expect to see. We have 26 lands, and in the board, nothing too crazy. Just trying to. I guess they've started to pick up Virulent Plague to kind of fight against some of these token lists that we've seen going forward. It's also a pretty good card against Gideon, which is pretty nice. And Hangerback Walker. So
yeah. Even like a Target Red, they make a lot of tokens. I don't know if you bring it in for that matchup, but you could just be like wanting to swap out a card.
Yeah. If you need to add another card, I don't know how it's because they're not playing Outburst at this point. They're pretty much just playing like Dragon Fodder. So I don't know if I would. I guess like if they're siding into like Hangerback Walkers, I've seen that before.
The Pro Tour list definitely had 2 to 4 like Goblin or Horthing Outburst.
Okay.
Like
well,
that,
yeah. I mean, if you see that, then yeah.
I don't think in a week that's really changed too much.
Yeah. I mean, even the 9th place list has 2 Horling Outbursts here. So
and a lot of times they board to the 4 and sideboard. So
that's fair. It's a reasonable card then. Yeah, against them. But typically the sideboard is just going to be a lot of kind of more utility. So you get a couple Arishan Clerics. Usually they're pretty much just for a Tarka Red. Usually you'll see Disdainful Strokes or Negates, maybe more Dispels or Duresses for kind of the control decks.
You've also probably been seeing like Surge of Righteousness potentially.
Yep.
For both the Tarka Red and the mirror match.
Yep. Yeah. Some lists are playing it. Some lists aren't. Arishan Cleric has a little bit more value in this specific list because of Ojutai's command, so you can return it. You can do the gain 4, return Arishan Cleric, gain another 3. But I mean that's kind of the stock list. That's actually the list I played at F&M. I will say Tassiger is very good. That's really, really good in that specific list. At the Pro Tour, not all of the lists played Tassiger, so.
I would definitely say if you're going about attacking these decks, I think the one thing I've seen most people do incorrectly is they think that they're going to get run over by like Mantis Riders and it's an aggressive deck, and it just isn't anymore. And it's not really an aggressive deck. It has powerful plays on curve, and it has a lot of like resilience. And if you pay attention to some of the sideboards, like I'm going to mention no, Pascal Maynard, he's not playing that. Edgar, nope. Miguel Hayes. His sideboard, he's got like... Nope, wasn't him. Man, I can't even get the right person. Who's that? Here it is. I'm sorry. Omar Beldens. That's the one. He has literally Master Unseen's Ugins, like Painful Truths, Planar Outburst in his board. Like, instead of like even going, he's getting as big as you can go. Like he's like, I'm this Jeskai deck that's boarding in Ugin. So if you're like, oh man, they're a Mantis Rider deck, they're aggressive. Mantis Rider is definitely can be an aggressive card, but they are not an aggressive deck. So make sure you're playing against them. Like recognize you're not going to get killed. You're not going to die on turn 3 or 4 against this deck. And if you waste your resources, playing a defensive game that way, you're going to lose every time.
Right now, the mirror match I have played a couple does seem to be very tempo based, and I know Mike, you pointed out Omar Belden's sideboard, but he actually lost in the finals in the mirror. Mastery of the Unseen looked very bad. I'll be honest with you.
No, we talked about that card last night. I'm not advocating for that card.
Okay,
but
yeah.
I'm saying like you should pay attention to that as far as play style. Like these decks are thinking of getting bigger post board, not smaller, and you should play. I'm just saying to play the matchup accordingly. I don't think this is the best version of this by any means. I'm just saying be aware of it.
I think the way to go if you're looking to fight, if you're planning on playing Jeskai, or looking to fight against this list, Dispel is a very good card against this deck. It makes Ojutai's command very awkward. It's kind of like in Modern when you counter a Cryptic command with Dispel. It feels really good. Like, oh, you spent 4 mana for that? Oh, I spent 1.
Duress is also very good against them.
Yes,
and great against the Esper decks too. Like I've been running with 4 Duress in the board, and honestly, Duress can work the same way as Dispel, where like instead of waiting to counter the Ojutai's command, you just wait to the turn you want to cast your guy, and then you Duress them, and you're like, oh. Mm-hmm. So it feels pretty nice.
Yeah, I know. I'll for GPINDY, no matter what version I end up playing, I'm gonna load up on Duresses and Dispels for the Jeskai matchups. And currently, I'm playing a list that goes a little bit bigger, playing a dragon package in it. So we'll see how that goes. But let's touch real quick on Edgar Magalhaes.
Magalhaes. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
sorry, buddy.
Yeah. So he
Edgar M.
Sure, yeah. So he top 8'd this GP as well, playing I guess technically Dark Jeskai. His black is strictly for 1 Sorin in the main, Crackling Dooms. That's it for the main deck, and then he has 1 Tasigur and a other end in the board, and a couple Kolagans.
Man, I just feel like he just hasn't seen the truth yet. Like this deck is just begging to play some Kolaghan the Storm Fury. Man, you're playing Sorin. Like trust me, you just want Kolaghan. You just want a little bit of Kolaghan.
Yeah,
she won't do you wrong.
Well, that's kind of. I saw this list, and he had mentioned in his profile that Pia and Karen Nalaar. He's playing 3 of them. He's mentioned how good it is in the mirror. I was a little skeptical, but after playing with that card, I can buy that.
Yeah, I was telling you, like it's especially when they have if they have a Mantis Rider heavy draw, like it lets you. I was saying it last night, like Pia and Karen Nalaar just like pump the brakes. They're just like, all right, hold on. We're going to reassess the situation. We're going to back up. And you're like, yeah. And he's playing in conjunction with 4 Hangerback Walkers, which I said this last week. I said this after winning states with it. There's nothing better than throwing a pretty good sized Hangerback Walker, killing something, and then getting a bunch of tokens. It's like making eggs. Like when you get that sizzle in the pan, there's like you crack over your Hangerback Walker. Ooh, that's that good burn.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I have to say that I did play Mike's deck for a game day, and that was a very nice interaction where you're just like, you're just dead. Like you can play spells and continue to do this, but I'm just going to keep throwing these things at you.
Yeah. So. Where this list differs, it doesn't have the Tassigur's main deck. It is running 4 Hangerback Walkers and the 3 Pia and Karen Nalaar. So it's not playing Soulfire Grandmaster. It's not playing Tassigur.
It's an important thing to point out that it's also playing Treasure Cruise and not Dig Through Time.
Yes.
Because Treasure Cruise is a sorcery, and it can't dispel that.
It's very important.
Yeah, I do like that a lot. I mean, Dig Through Time is obviously an awesome card. It's proven itself to be, a really, one of the best cards in Standard, to be honest. But I feel like going forward that people will kind of pick up on how good Dispel is and be playing more of them. So I kind of like Treasure Cruise. Also, in this list, this list does run Ojutai's command, but I don't feel it's as good as it is in the other lists, where you can kind of afford to leave 4 mana up. This one's a little bit more proactive, I want to say. So
yeah, I also don't only have again, I don't want. I'm not going to criticize the guy at top of the GP too much, but I do say the one thing about Pia and Kieran Nalaar is it makes your Culligan's commands even better because like returning that guy, which which is always like a 3-for-1 when you cast it, like just makes all of the value you're getting even more impressive. So like I definitely think like Culligan's command seems like the better card in the main here than even Ojutai's command in this list. And like he's playing Jeskai Charms as well. So you like I'm pushing for Culligan because I really like that card and it works really well with these tokens. But you can see he's got some cards set up for the pump theme as well. Like get all these hangerback tokens and get all these Optic tokens and Jeskai Charm them or play Sorin and to get up. So I like how this list works. I like the kind of value this gets. I definitely don't think it's optimal though going forward.
Right. Yeah. The kind of what I'm working on personally is kind of a mix between this list, your state's winning list, and like kind of the regular Jeskai list because I'm trying to work Tassigers into it. So it falls somewhere in between there.
Some horrible Frankenstein Jeskai list.
It wasn't horrible. It was pretty good. It was pretty good last night. I'm going to tweak it a like before the weekend.
I'm just saying, like, that's what you're doing, basically.
Yeah, it's all stitched together.
I'm not calling the deck horrible. I'm calling, like, the creature it creates.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. But,
is it afraid of fire?
It does it has 4 Radiant Flames on the board, so I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah, you should have a pretty decent Atarka Red matchup, too, so probably not.
Yeah. This one may not be as good against the Atarka Red, to be honest.
Wow.
Because it doesn't have the Soulfire Grandmasters, which can help a lot.
I mean, like, when I played Jeskai at game day, and this was just like straight regular Jeskai, wasn't even Dark Jeskai, that matchup felt really good.
Yeah, I mean, I beat it in the finals in states. I don't want to keep saying that, but like I did. But like in all seriousness, like
must be nice to be able to say that.
I never had like Soulfires, obviously, but like you're just like you're freeing up slots where like the rest of your spells are always cast on time. So like as long as you have your early removal spells, which you're playing a ton of in these lists, the deck is not that terrible to play against.
Yeah, I think it also depends on the pilot. I mean, we've seen a lot of kind of high profile players are picking up Atarka Red. I know Alex Hayne finished 10th, I believe, at this GP, and playing against Alex Hayne playing Atarka Red or against some unknown, it's a little different.
No, and I'm sure the pros that are playing that, like look at like PV, playing that knowing that they can gain those extra percentage points out of it that most players can't. But you're not always. The flip side of that is you're not always and generally not playing a person of that caliber.
Right.
So.
Right.
We should probably just move to a different archetype though. We've beaten Jeskai to death.
Yeah, but I feel like it's important because it is probably the best deck in the format right now.
That's why Jeskai is now both black and blue.
I now have a new suggestion for Dark Jeskai. We can call it Death Guy. Stew on it.
Death Guy.
Death Guy.
What about? Is it Oreos? That's what Efro is calling it?
I don't want to call it that.
Is it Oreos?
Ever. I like Death Guy.
All right. Well, we kind of already talked about Atarka Red. You want to talk about that deck?
We can at least we've talked about it a couple times on here, but we should at least mention it if we're talking about these pillars of the metagame. So Atarka Red by now is pretty simple. You've got your mix of 1-drops with 3 to 4 Zergo, some number of your lightning dashers, and I just lost the name of it.
Lightning Berserk.
Thank you. You have your full place of abbots, which that card just continues to be disgusting. You obviously have the best 1-drop in the format, which is Monastery Swiftspear. Like you're playing a lot of cards that have proven themselves in other formats. Then you're rounding this out with a nice package of token generators, of huge pump spells, and a little bit of burn and removal to go with it. You put that all together, and baby, you got a stew going.
You got a stew going. But yeah, so there are multiple angles of attack in this list that makes it, still a great choice in the format. You can go wide with the Atarka's command and kill your opponent, or you can just play for the combo, which is Become Immense and Team Battle Rage, or even Titan Strength and Team Battle Rage, giving your guy a trample and double strike and making your opponent real dead.
Yeah. I like PV did a deck tech for this deck at the Pro Tour, and it was interesting when they were talking to him. They're like, "Oh, what advice would you give? Somebody that's trying to pick this up." And he's like, "You know what? You don't have to go all in." A lot of people think like, "Okay, I'm playing red. I just got to get him dead as quickly as possible." It's not really the case with this deck. He said, like in a lot of ways, it's like playing Splinter Twin, and that sounds really weird, but it's kind of accurate because they have to respect the fact that you can just deal 18 damage to them out of nowhere.
You could just kill them dead.
A lot of times they're just they're not going to tap out. Maybe they're not going to play the game that they're supposed to play, and that will buy you more time. You could just attack with the 1/1s.
And yeah, you're just poking for a little while.
Yeah, you could just get them that way. So, and then as soon as they do tap out, boom, they're dead. So this is definitely it's definitely a list. You definitely want to be aware of what they can do. Take the time to do the math and like think about how much damage they could potentially do if they have certain cards. You to an extent, you can play around some things, but it's all about just understanding the damage potential. The sideboards I've seen with these decks have differed a little bit. Some of them are playing Chandra, Fire of Kaladesh, which was pretty impressive on camera a couple of times. And I know some of the other lists are adopting Hooting Mandrills as a card, so because that's kind of the red deck is adapting to Surge of Righteousness, which a lot of people are playing now, which is very good because you're trying to beef up one guy to be huge. So, Hooting Mandrills gets around that, gets around Fiery Impulse and things like that. So
yeah,
that's a card.
He ain't afraid of no fire.
Yeah. I love me a Delve creature, so
yeah.
I enjoyed that tech.
And then when you give, you're playing a creature that already has trample on it, well, it makes it all the easier, doesn't it?
Makes your Titan Strength pretty good.
Yeah, it makes your Become Events pretty good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's a target red again. I mean, this is the go-to aggressive deck in the format. Again, we already pointed out that it is a little bit different than maybe what you have, played previously as an aggressive, deck, but I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome that you can actually have a little bit of play with your, angry red creatures.
Yeah, it's definitely different than like the burn based red decks that we saw before rotation.
Where it's just like I'm trying to get you 2-0 as fast as I can.
Yeah. All right, so why don't we talk about Abzan since that was the most played deck?
Yeah,
and capture one Pro Tour and
one Pro Tour and So Abzan, it's gone through a little bit of change since rotation. It no longer can really play that complete kind of control that it used to play. With Courser, Crewfix, cards like that. So it's it's more on the Abzan aggro side of it at this point. This is pretty much the only way you can play it. I feel like. So the list that top 8 of the GP here was Nicholas Beland, and he's playing the standard package of Warden of the First Tree, Hangerback Walker, and Offensive Siege Rhino. These are the cards that you see. A lot of times you'll see anywhere from 2 to 4 Den Protectors. He's playing a couple here. This runs Gideon to good effect, since you want to be attacking a lot. Some lists run Wingmate Rock. This one did in particular, but I haven't seen that in every single list.
And he's playing 3 across 75.
Yeah, Wingmate Rock is, if it resolves against Jeskai, is very good. I've played against it a couple times. I cannot beat it.
Yeah,
I was not able to beat it. Now Jeskai does play Ojutai's Command, so you do have to be aware that that's something that could happen. But if you're able to play around the Ojutai's Command, then Wingmate Rock is very good. Dromoka's Command, obviously, is a card that's a staple to this deck, as well as Abzan Charm. And Murderous Cut's still one of the best removal spells in the format.
Yeah, it's probably like, that and Abzan Charm are kind of the premier instant speed removal spells. And like complete disregard, which is awkward, but is definitely up there.
In his sideboard.
For sure. Yeah. Definitely says exile target Manus Rider a lot of the time.
I mean, or Hangerback Walker.
Or Hangerback Walker, yeah, very true. Yep. The premier reason to kind of be playing an Abzan deck is for sure Anafenza and Siege Rhino and Abzan Charm. I mean, those are the cards that obviously demand those colors, and a reason why you would want to splash those. Also, something to take note of is this list is playing for Shambling Vent, which I think is also really nice, especially when we talk about Esper Control and having a threat that can stick around and potentially still threaten things like an Ugin or something like that.
Can't be under-ended either.
Yeah, very true.
Rule spells that deck has been leaning on.
Yeah, so. Under-ed is not Vindicate, and it cannot kill lands.
Yeah, another good thing about Shambling Vent is it can often get a lot of value. It could obtain a lot of +1 counters in various ways. So if you attack with that and Anafenza, Dromoka's Command can pump it. Abzan Charm can put counters on it. So putting counters on that, being able to, it lets you race a little bit a little bit better. So yeah, it's a nice little angle to that deck. Now I'll ask you guys something. Now Siege Rhino was kind of the defining card of the previous format. Would you say at this point that Anafenza is actually the better Abzan card?
No.
Nah, it's still Siege Rhino.
The better card? No.
In really?
Yeah.
Anafenza does a lot of things.
A bunch of modern play.
No, I'm saying like in this current standard, like contextually.
I don't know. I guess you could argue that like the Spectre of Anafenza is what keeps some of these, like the Maynard deck and like some of those decks down. So maybe, but like I feel like a lot of decks still have to pass the Siege Rhino check. Like you don't have to really pass the Anafenza check, but you have to make sure that you can get through, an assault of Siege Rhino. So I would still argue no. They're much closer to like a unified pair now than they were before.
Okay. Yeah,
but I still think it goes to Siege Rhino.
Fair enough.
When I'm building against that deck, I'm not thinking about Anafenza unless I have graveyard shenanigans.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like, man, got to make sure that my deck doesn't just go, all right, we're churning, we're working, we're Siege Rhino.
Yeah.
Anafenza is still probably one of the scariest cards to face down on turn 3 in this format, I feel like, because you need to be running specific answers to it. Like if you're playing a Jeskai deck and you're playing like, okay, you know what, I'm going to load up on Fire Impulse because I really want to kill Mantis Rider.
Yeah,
Anafenza kind of laughs at that.
Most of the decks can now literally play a turn 3 Tasker if they want, though. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
like, obviously that makes your Dromoka's Command a sweet interaction if they have it, but otherwise, then it's just like, now, literally, like, most of the Jeskai decks are running three cards that literally just trumpet in power, or in toughness, at least, I should say.
Okay.
So, I still think it's Siege Rhino. Like, that's the card that just, like, takes a deck like this where you could normally play pretty safe, and then remember that they have a bunch of Lightning Bolts, too. So, it's important to answer your question. Sure. I definitely think like there's another version if you want to look at Abzan that you could take a look at. Ricky Chin in 14th place.
Yeah, he was the player of the top 8 of the Pro Tour.
Yeah, yep. he went small, right? Wait a second here. They may have just mislabeled this. I lied. Don't talk about his list yet, because it's actually
we'll get into that one next.
Because it's literally just Green White Megamorph. There's a couple of them like this. There's definitely an Abzan list labeled as Jeskai down in 25th as well. So. Never mind. I just saw like Night of the White Orchids and stuff, and I was like, "Oh man, this is a cool take." And then I'm like, "Wait, there's no siege. There's no black."
So I mean, that's a good.
Let's segue then.
Yeah, that's a good transition into Green White Megamorph.
Abzan going into the deck that says. Now I just told you that Siege Rhino is like the important card in Abzan, and now we look at the deck that's like. I don't need any of it.
I don't need Anafenza.
I don't need Joanna Fenza.
I don't need Siege Rhino.
I don't need your Abzan Charm.
They're very charming.
Actually, like I'm resisting your Abzan Charm.
We're doing that one. Yeah, so we have Green White Megamorph, and this is one of the sort of standout decks that we had from the Pro Tour. We still see that it is around, maybe less so, but this is the kind of deck that really hammers home like. Playing Gideon, you have a full 4 of here. Also is the deck that can play, Death Misraptor to some, excess. And then we have, what you would typically see. We have Nissa's, and this is sort of the Nissa deck in the format since we don't have traditional Abzan control. And then, we see, Dromoka's Command, and this is really, to me, this is like the Wingmate Rock deck that you have. This is obviously a deck that's built to attack, and you see like a surplus of Wingmate Rocks 3 to 4 typically in these lists. And then they also get kind of inventive with removal, where we have Silk Wraps showing up as one of their premier removal spells. But yeah, even things like Gideon's Reproach in the sideboard of Ricky Chin's list, even so, certainly a deck that is still kicking around. Abzan still seems to be more popular, which makes sense since it won the Pro Tour. People would still want to flock to that, but it's kind of up in the air which is necessarily better.
Yeah, I would say like probably the big deciding factor is the mana in this green white deck is so much better than Abzan. It gets to play, one of the best mana bases. I'd say, Atarka Red's pretty easy mana base. The ramp deck is pretty easy because it's basically mono green.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one just gets to play, so a bunch of basics.
8 fetches, a bunch of duels, and then basics.
Yeah, just really easy. You get a lot of, most of the time all your land's going to come into play.
I'm sorry. 11 fetches. My bad.
Yeah. Your mana's going to get to come into play untapped majority of the time. So it plays, very. Your cards are a little less powerful overall. but not by much, I would say. I mean, it's still.
Yeah, I think that's the one. Like we've seen this deck, you said, it sort of dip a little bit in popularity. Like it still had high numbers. There's a really interesting scenario where was it Majors who top aided the first Open with this?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He mentioned that like he wasn't going to play the deck. He wasn't sure of it yet, and like he was told to play it by Jerry, and then like the deck caught on fire. So like he was wondering like if he hadn't played the deck, like would he been able to take the Pro Tour with surprise, which is a really interesting thought, right? But the format really seemed to shape around this deck, which is important. We talked about Abzan being like level 0 before, and I felt like this sort of became level 0, and that's why you've seen like this deck was beating the Jeskai decks that second week in the format, and now Jeskai has become Dark Jeskai that's really, really grindy, and this deck was winning games because its ability to grind out wins, like to flip up, you can get a bunch of value out of like your Den Protectors and your Deathwish Raptors, but now like the other deck, like the Dark Jeskai decks have great removal, and they're playing all these Tassigers and everything else. So I think you've seen like this continue to be the baseline, and you've watched the other decks warp around it, and that's why this deck hasn't been as great. Doesn't mean it can't be. I mean, it's like I said, it's the best Wingman Rock deck in the format, and that card is very good. It's also probably the best Evolutionary Leap deck in the format.
Oh, yeah.
And that card is one of the cards that really punishes the Esper decks right now, where there's just like yeah, it has Mastery Unseen. People are going to keep trying to play that card. This deck definitely plays it a lot better than the Jeskai decks do, but Evolutionary Leap is the card where it just like makes it so hard to keep them off of like creatures, obviously, and to also keep them out of value in it. So I think this is one of the decks that probably, especially if you're able to land an Evolutionary Leap, can like go toe to toe with like an Esper. So if like you're expecting Esper to uptick, like this is where this goes. This deck isn't going away, but it definitely doesn't have the Jeskai matchup down like it did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I do think Silk Wrap is one of the only removal spells it plays, but I think is very good in the format right now. Just not in the mirror because of the Dromoka's commands. I will say there was a slight variation that was out there. I know Brian Brown-Dewan played a list similar to what we were talking about there, though he did have 4 Avatar of the Resolutes in his deck.
Yeah.
Which does a pretty good job at blocking Mantis Rider, which Mantis Flyers in general are pretty good against this type of strategy. But yeah, Avatar of the Resolute, oftentimes came down as a 4/3. Trample reach for 2 mana.
Yeah,
so that's pretty good.
Can we just know how weirdly designed that card is? Like, you just told me that my aggressive 2-drop that has power greater than its toughness is good at blocking Mantis Rider.
Yeah, but
I hate Magic sometimes.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you though.
But yeah, I mean, his list was a lot more streamlined. Well, he is only playing 2 Warden of the first 3, which is kind of surprising, but he's playing the full 4 Den Protectors. But yeah, other than the avatars, it's pretty stock.
The only other real offshoot you'll see of this deck is sometimes you've seen the quote-unquote Naya version, and they're playing Rending Volley in the sideboard per the Cedric Phillips update, or you've seen Bant, which has some number of Dispels. If I had to guess out of which one of those would you have a higher chance of seeing, I would assume it would be Bant going forward, just because, again, we've talked about how good Dispel is. So you could see them bringing that back. But otherwise, yeah, this list has not really changed too much.
Yeah. I love Rending Volley right now, by the way.
It's very good. It kills many things.
Another good thing. Good card against Jeskai. All right, we good with that?
Yeah.
All right. All right, we talked a little bit about Esper Control. Reed Duke just barely missed Pro Tour Top 8 playing it, but he was able to follow up with the GP Top 8 here. And then I know that...
I'm sure he was consoled.
Yeah. And then I know at the Pro Tour there was a little bit of a different list, which we can kind of get into. But Patrick Chapin, Paul Riesel, and Matt Sperling, I believe, played a version of Esper Control at the Pro Tour as well. So let's talk about Reed Duke's list first. And like we said before, it really is super short on win conditions. It runs 2 Ugins, and pretty much the only other way you're going to kill somebody is with a Shambling Vent.
Jace Ultimate? Jeez.
Erish and Cleric?
I'm talking about realistic options here.
I mean,
sure, Jace Ultimate maybe, but
Scatter the Winds and is one of, and Planar Outbursts can also get the job done.
Yeah, I was trying to be more realistic though. It's basically.
Well, I mean, anything's a win condition though. It's Reed Duke.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. This deck does not have any real velocity to it. It does nothing for a long amount of time, and you feel miserable because you're doing nothing either.
Yeah.
It's definitely trying to control the early game with like Clash of Wills, which it can be a little bit awkward again if there's a lot of spells running around, or also like Clash of Wills is a weird draw. I do like his use of like Majoring Network because like he could just be playing like Crucible, but Majoring Network also actually makes like, your Clash of Wills relevant when you draw them late in the game. Like, oh, you have like 8 mana open. Well, good thing I have 7 counters on my Majoring Network. I'm countering whatever I want. So. But yeah, essentially it's just a mishmash of just Ojutize commands and Utter Ends and dig through times and then ultimate prices, murderous cuts. There's a Silmgar's command which he was using to ridiculous effect on camera.
There's definitely like plenty of time where it's just like counter your like planeswalker, kill your other planeswalker. Like I saw that line many a time, which is like.
And I will say one of the things like this deck does a really good job of is like he relies like if you watch some of the games, like the games where he has Jaces in the early turns like are so much better for him than like he does fine. Like he can still play, but like when he's like hitting every land drop and like so like as an opponent of this deck, you want to kill Jace badly, but like are you leaving Fiery Impulse in against this deck? Because oh man, that feels terrible. So like he really puts player like before we were playing this game where it's like, well, we'll put Jaces in the board and we'll board them in once they board the removal out. But now we're in the format where it's like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna keep those terrible cards in against me so you can kill Jace? Your choice. So I like the squeeze it sort of puts on players in that way too.
Yeah, I mean it's very much a deck that is trying to completely control the game, have answers for everything, draw cards. This is very much a classic control deck. I do feel like I personally would never play it. This particular list, just because, like I said earlier, like the rounds go long, you're gonna go to time. If you're not proficient with playing this and like know exactly what you're doing, like you need a lot of practice.
Yeah.
Like obviously Reed Duke knows what he's doing. He's played it a ton.
There's so many rounds of this deck, and he was happy to do so. I would not be. But like if I day 2'd, I'd be sitting there in day 2 just going. No more. I don't want
to do this.
I crack my fetch shot. My hands are so sore.
Now, moving away from Reed Duke's list and going into kind of Patrick Chapin's list from the Pro Tour, he's playing a slightly more proactive approach. He is not running Ugins in the main. However, he does have 2 Gideons and 2 Obnixilis. And then he's also running Secure the Waste as kind of a win condition / I guess Elspeth proxy. I want to say. I know he's talked about it, being able to buy you a lot of time. Just secure the waste for just a couple turns worth of chump blockers. Being able to take over. Another thing this deck can do is you can cast a huge Secure the Waste at end of turn and then play a Gideon, get an emblem, attack with a bunch of 2/2s. Sometimes that works. But this one it's got a little bit more proactiveness to it. Like I said, you get Duress and Despise in this list. It still runs its fair share of counter spells and other utility answer cards. So Esper's a thing. I mean, and the mana works out pretty well for it. I want to say.
Sorry, Mike's breaking things in the background here. I mean, like all of the shards have pretty decent mana in this format. Due to how the battle lands interact with the fetch lands. So I don't think that the mana would be an issue with this deck. It would just be being able to win in some fashion. Now, Chapin's list does have an easier route to that. And there's even been some further iterations on his list. Because Fabrizio Intieri played a very much so mostly black-white, splash blue deck that probably isn't control. It's likely more of a mid-range list when you break it down, but kind of takes similar ideas to what they were doing at the Pro Tour, where it's like, well, I want to play Secure the Waste and play this Gideon, and it's more of a Planeswalker deck because his list is also playing Sorens and
Obnixili?
Sure. Multiple Obnixilis reignited, and to find avenues for victory, basically. So, if you are interested in something a little bit different that we aren't really going to touch on, I would suggest taking a look into that.
Now, probably not going to talk about this deck too much, but Esper Dragons is also, if you want to do it, it's still a thing you could do.
technically.
It didn't do well at the Pro Tour.
We wouldn't
and
suggest it.
I don't think it's not positioned very well right now.
There's a lot of crackling dooms.
There's a lot of
Yes.
crackling dooms. Yeah, like
Crackle.
so. Like in the past, like you were able to close out games with Ojitai. Ojitai was very good, but in a in a world with a bunch of crackling
with a bunch of crackling
dooms.
Ojitai becomes
One
less
Dragon
good.
Lord is no longer playable.
So yeah, Ojitai not very good right now, especially if running volleys gonna pick up.
Yeah, running ball
It's
is
a little
like
awkward.
gonna start seeing a lot more play. Well, then
No.
I don't want to be playing
Yeah.
Ojitai.
Now that's not to say that it's never going to be good. It's just right now it's not positioned very well.
Yeah,
So just
things
be
can
aware of that.
change.
All right. Let's see. We have a couple left here.
Yeah. Next up, we have Bant tokens.
Band tokens.
So this is Sam Black's baby, if you will.
So I will point out I disagree with this being on the list, but it's
Fair enough.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, it's probably tier 2. I wouldn't say it's a tier 1 deck, but I think it's something that you should be aware of that it's out there, and you should probably have a plan for it.
Based on both Esper and Bant tokens, you should not be surprised by your opponent. Like, if you are surprised when your opponent goes end of turn, secure for 7, and then kills you with a Gideon, you know what I mean? You should no longer be surprised by this. This should not be a shocking thing for you. Like, don't let it happen. Don't be the guy that's just like, wait, people are doing this? People are doing this crazy thing?
All right, so I have so Sam Black was kind of the progenitor of this list at the Pro Tour. We talked about it last week. That a lot of people do well. Shahar Shenhar played it at the GP this past weekend to a 13th place finish. And I'll kind of just run down the list real quick here. So we have 4 Gideons, 4 Hangerback Walker, 3 Elvish Visionary, 4 Nissa, 3 Wingmate Rock. Plays a main deck Planar Outburst, 2 Dispel, 3 Secure the Waste, 4 Silk Wrap, 2 Stasis Snare, 4 Retreat to Emeria, which is kind of the card that makes this deck go, and 1 Quarantine Field. Now, you may think that maybe this is a list that is weak to Dromoka's command because it has so many enchantments, but that's just the thing; it has so many enchantments. So a lot of times, you may be able to Silk Wrap a Hangback Walker, for example, early on, and then you basically have Dromoka's command protection from then on, for each other enchantment that you play. But Retreat to Emeria is really the card that I think is kind of puts it over the top. I mean, obviously, Gideon's very good in a token strategy. Secure the Waste has proven to be a lot better than it was in the previous format. Retreat to Emeria can give you a steady stream of tokens or pump your team quite a bit with fetch lands and things like that. Does get to play some interesting lands as well. So, I mean, you have your standard, it's Bant colors. So, like we just said, with the shards being, working well with the fetches and battle lands. It does have that nice mana base, but also gets to play a Blighted Woodland, which is the kind of the, I guess, double Rampant Growth land, but you get 2 landfall triggers off of that, so that's kind of cool.
Ding!
It also gets to play Lumbering Falls, which is, I believe this is the only deck in the format that's playing this right now.
To success,
which is
yeah.
the blue-green man land. Yep. So, yeah, I mean, it's a thing. It's very much a Wingmate Rock deck, like we've seen so many at this point. This is another deck that can use Evolutionary Leap to good effect. So, I mean, this is probably closer to the green-white Megamorph list than anything else.
I feel like Megamorph is a better deck in this vein. But definitely, like, the Retreat is really the signature card here that, lets it attack on a different axis. And don't get me wrong, like, the ability to, like, draw a fetch land and, like, pump your team is definitely something the Green White Megamorph can't do. The difference is that Green White Megamorph doesn't have a bunch of 1/1 allied tokens that are, holding the fort. Also doesn't play 4-mana do-nothing enchantments. Which, like, as good as Retreat can be, it can also just be really, really slow and just not helpful at all. Like, all right, you played Mana Strider turn 3. All right, untap turn 4. Play Retreat. Go.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I feel like with a lot of the Jeskai lists that I've seen doing well are picking a Virulent Plague for the sideboard as well, and if that continues to be a trend, then this deck's going to get worse. So be aware.
Does it suffer when there's a Virulent Plague in play?
Yeah, maybe.
If so, why?
Yeah, if you are planning on playing this list, it's something that you may want to look out for. I don't like they definitely played it, but it doesn't feel like this like maybe this deck didn't do so well in the GP because that was a thing, or maybe just a lot of people weren't playing it. So it's kind of weird to see. Like we'll have to wait and kind of see what happens with whether that still continues to be in the sideboard or not of the blacklists that can play it.
Right. One thing that was predictable after the Pro Tour was that the Jeskai tokens list that Martin Mueller played fell off the map seemingly.
Yeah.
Also, with more people playing Plagues and just people being generally more prepared for that style of deck, we didn't really see it do well at the GP. It's still, if that's your thing, go ahead. Just
and I mean, like Sandblack, as of this, as of today, as we're recording, Sandblack definitely wrote an article that was updating it. So if you have Star City Games Premium, you can definitely check out that article where he does write about changing the list going forward. So we would encourage that if you can access it, if you're interested in playing the list.
All right, we have one more list or one more deck on the list here, and then we'll kind of get into our little fun segment. So the last deck we're going to talk about is the Blue-Black Aristocrats deck. Now, I wouldn't consider this tier 1, though it is probably the most fun deck in the format.
It top 32 to the GP?
It did top 32 to the GP. So, I mean, it is competitive. I'm not saying it's like, terrible and can't win, but it definitely has some holes. Like you said, Anafenza is pretty good against this deck.
Yeah.
But we did see Christian Calcano. He had a pretty good run at the Pro Tour with it. Kind of fell off in day 2. But this is kind of similar to... Well, it's different enough that I feel like it's like a separate deck from what we saw Pascal Maynard play.
And I agree with you on that. I think when you're looking at a deck like this, like, again, I don't think you're preparing for this deck. But I think just like the Bant Tokens deck, just like the Blue-Black, or the barely Esper deck, you just have to know what it can do. So when your opponent goes, plays this like Sultai Emissary, you're like, what are they doing? Go, oh no, make sure I don't die on turn 4 when he goes Whirler Rogue. So I think like it definitely showed that Whirler Rogue is really, really powerful, and you should really be paying attention that you're not putting yourself into positions against this deck where it gets to just like slam Whirler Rogue and kill you. Which much like the I feel like this deck actually sort of plays almost like a Tarka Red does, which I know you would look at this and you wouldn't think it was that explosive, but it's the same thing where it can just sort of sit there and poke you for 1 with value guys, poke you for 1, and then when it decides to go off or decides to try and get in for lethal, if you tapped out, it can just do it sometimes. So just have to play carefully against it.
Yeah, and in an interaction that can happen, I'll just kind of go down the list of cards here with and this is pretty much all 4 of those. Nantuko Husk, Hangerback Walker, Zulaport Cutthroat, Bloodsoaked Champion, Sidisi's Faithful, Sultai Emissary, Whirler Rogue, Liliana. 4 of all those. This particular list has 1 Smothering Abomination. It also plays 4 Murderous Cuts. It's got 4 Murderous Cuts, 23
Morgan's
lands.
so happy about this.
Proud of you, Sleeper, showing up in something.
I know that Calcano didn't play the Abomination. I believe he played the Vampiric Rites.
Yeah.
The enchantment. He played one of those. I mean, you could probably go either way with that.
Yeah,
Abomination is probably better. But yeah, the interaction that you're talking about is, if you have a Husk in play a Whirler Rogue, you can just immediately make your Husk unblockable, and then you have 3 bodies to sacrifice.
Well, and if that takes away if you curved anything else. Like if you have like a Liliana and like a Sultai Emissary, then it's like, oh cool, sack the Sultai Emissary, manifest, sack the manifest. Oh, sack, Liliana flipped. Oh, like sack the zombie token. Oh, Liliana, bring back Sultai Emissary, sack the Sultai Emissary, manifest, sack the manifest, and then it was like, oh wait, I died.
Yep. I'm dead.
Yeah, there are a lot of. There are a lot of cool plays you can do with this too. Like if you happen to have a manifested Hangerback Walker, and you play a Liliana, you could flip it for 0.
Camera, like in the Pro Tour, Calcano did.
Yeah, you could flip it for 0, technically killing it, flipping Liliana. So yeah, definitely a really cool deck. I would say if you plan on looking into this or plan on playing this, definitely play it before taking it to a tournament, because there's a lot of weird interactions, kind of cool things that you can do with it.
Also, you can awkwardly have the 3 Bloodsoaked Champion draw and win. That happened to me at game day, where it's just like, oh, yeah, this is really aggressive, and I can't stop it. So
yeah, but Bloodsoaked Champion is a card that I kind of always thought would be more play than what it is. Really hasn't done anything since.
I mean, you gotta have to find the right deck for that kind of interaction to happen, and this is one of those.
Yeah.
So,
but it's nice when it works. I mean, another thing that I guess might not be intuitive is like if you're attacking with an Nantuko Husk, you can sacrifice Bloodsoaked Champion. You can activate its ability multiple times.
Yeah.
So you can return it, sacrifice, return it, like for as much mana as you have.
Yeah.
So that's definitely another cool thing that you can do with this deck. So
For sure. I think that this may not be like a premier strategy necessarily, but I think people, saw this deck and saw that it is not playing Jace's, and are supporting it just for that sheer fact. Even though, Liliana is now creeping up there in price. It's like, it's $25, so it's not as expensive as Jace, obviously, but people, basically the point I'm trying to make is people will likely play this deck due to, like, it being relatively inexpensive.
You said doo-doo.
Sure. Sure.
But
Thank you for that cutting, commentary you have there.
Hashtag breaking news.
so these are all the lists that I think we think are kind of the top 2 tiers, maybe of standard, or
Sure.
like the top decks. There are other decks that you can play.
And a lot of variations of these decks, honestly.
Right. Yeah, we
So-
tried to kind of touch on some of those, but yeah, there are a lot of variations. And obviously, this is a format where the mana is so good. It's easy to splash cards. If you feel like you want to play something in your Abzan deck, maybe you can splash for, I don't know, whatever. but that's kind of the meta game as it stands right now.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's a pretty a good list. I would say brush up on all of these if you are planning on playing any standard over the weekend, especially if you're attending the GP. Know what is going to be there. Know what you're going to be facing. It's very important if you want to perform well at these tournaments to know what other people are playing. And if you are planning on picking up one of these lists, it's kind of late, but you can still do it. Just know the list, know the interactions, figure out sideboard plans against the plan, the expected metagame, things like that. These will all help you towards performing well at the GP. And in all honesty, who knows what's actually going to come out? There could be we had green red ramp or green ramp show up that we did not really see at the Pro Tour. So who knows what we'll even see there? Maybe something new.
Yeah, what I'm anticipating for this GP is definitely an uptick in the green ramp decks, especially if their matchup, if they do have a good matchup against Jeskai and that holds true, then I expect that to pick up a lot. And also, I expect there to be a lot of Jeskai, but I expect those decks to adapt to kind of fight the mirror a little bit more. That's what I'm basing my deck decision on.
I don't disagree with you. Anything else for the metagame that we expect going forward?
No, I feel like we're exhaustive. Let's do the fun thing.
Okay. So as it is almost Halloween, we thought we would do something a little bit fun and list the in no particular order the top 8 scariest cards to play against.
Ooh.
So there is a list out there that is the top 8 scariest cards due to art reasons, and there are definitely some honorable mentions for that list. So like Skeletal Grimace.
We actually have a whole 8 of them.
Oh, nice.
Oh, not including Skeletal Grimace. So you got the 9 with that one. We actually have more of those. So we're doing honorable mentions for art and flavor first.
Yep.
Okay. So why do you have a problem with Skeletal Grimace?
Yeah, that card's terrifying. It's like a skeleton-faced man's got eyeballs. Why does he have eyeballs? Doesn't make any sense.
Eyeballs.
Well, how's she gonna grimace, man? I don't know what to tell you. They're not skin.
First of all, why is he not like a giant triangle purple thing? I don't get it.
So the best part about like Skeletal Grimace or anything that has like a face like that, like it's like trying to make a face, but it's like, well, it's the skin that like
Right.
So
It's weird. I don't like it. I'm not a fan. Just not a fan. But we have Pestilence.
no, I put this on here specifically like the original Pestilence that has like the rotting child like vomiting something out of its mouth. You just look at it and you're just like, why? Like, why is this a thing? Like, I understand you're diseased, but like, what?
Yeah.
It's a little disturbing.
Yeah, it's gross. We have Mind Maggots. So if you have a fear of things coming out of your ear,
I'm literally, I don't like to use this, but literally trigger warning. Like, if you have an issue with things in your ear, don't look up Mind Maggots. It is haunting.
and to continue with maggot theme, we have Tackle Magnet.
Yeah, a lot of maggots.
Turns out maggots are gross.
Yeah, Tackle Maggot, like, it's probably not as bad as some of the other ones on this list, but that was like a really old school card, like from Legends, that I remember from like when I first started playing and just being like, man, that art is just disgusting. Like it's just like a skeleton with like a giant maggot kind of coming out of it.
Yeah,
just,
it's pretty gross.
We have Living Wall, which I was reminded of the art before we casted, and that art is nasty.
it's just like a fetus with like teeth.
I don't get it. It's gross.
That's the worst thing you've ever described. I want you to know.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Fetus with teeth.
There it is.
Yeah.
The teeth are separate from the fetus. It's
Correct.
Not,
it's not.
It's not
yeah,
like
it's not
a fetus.
It's not a one
with
unit.
like teeth in its mouth.
ugh,
But,
it's so
yeah.
gross.
Yeah.
There's so many like sacks, and I just don't understand. Like, it's just so gross.
I don't know what these are for, but they're disgusting.
I wouldn't want to attack that wall either. I'd be like,
you wouldn't be
no,
attacking
pass.
into that. You're like,
Pass.
I'm not touching that.
I don't want you. No. We also have claustrophobia. If you have, claustrophobia.
That one preys on a very real fear.
Yeah, very, very literally. And then we have Village Cannibals, which is, great for flavorful reasons. It definitely gives a sense in the art of, like, doom.
Yeah, it's like if you haven't looked at that card in a long time, like it's not the kind of perspective that Magic normally uses. Like you are definitely the guy sitting in bed as a bunch of people are coming to eat you.
Yep.
And that's worrisome.
You're the meal.
No, I secretly like ninja added this last one, but I couldn't believe I forgot it. Phyrexian Unlife, like all of the weird like porcelain face imagery in like New Phyrexia is terrifying. But man, Phyrexian Unlife is just like it looks so sad and it's terrifying. Like are you looking at it right now, Dave?
Yeah.
Oh my god, like it's like bleeding out of its eyes and like oh my gosh, the porcelain's all cracked. I just. It's gross.
It's brutal.
I think we missed one.
We
Macabre
did.
Waltz.
Yeah, Macabre Waltz.
Oh, sorry.
Which is, it's just like two zombies
Dancing.
in blood. It's like kind of crazy.
They love each other.
Yeah,
to death.
That's one you got to look at a little closely to get like the full effect.
Oh yeah, zoom in.
Zoom in.
closer.
Enhance.
That's a jump scare, right? It's like look, ah.
Yeah, for sure. Lots of creepy art in Magic. If you want to look at some creepy art, typically the older you go, the creepier it gets. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, for the most part.
For the most part.
Innistrad did a pretty good job. I mean, that was like supposed to
That
be
was supposed
the
to be
horror
the
block. But they did a really good job with it.
It depends on honestly, it really depends on what it gets you. Because like, if you are into like torture, like horror, like everything, go look at New Phyrexia, go look at Thought Scour, go look at Jataxian Probe, go look at Dismember.
You can look at the actual card torture.
Oh god.
They're like killing a unicorn or something.
Oh, that's horrible.
They have to like they live like a half-life after that. Like I know that people who have like killed unicorns and they drink their bloods, they actually have to live as like a spirit on the back of someone's head.
Yeah, there was
really-
a book about that, I believe.
Oh no! All right, I think I was thinking of Feast of the Unicorn, which is just a unicorn.
Oh,
head.
I thought isn't Perish the one where they're killing a unicorn?
I don't know.
Oh, your
It's like a Homelands card. I don't know, man.
Perish has no. Perish is the. Never mind. It's not Perish. I don't know.
Yeah, it's Torture
So-
Chamber.
That's cool. Let's move on to the action list.
Yeah, this is getting dark. All right.
Anyway, so these are the top 8 cards that are scariest to play against.
Now, I want to reason about this a little bit. We discussed this. Like, these are like there are cards that are certainly harder to beat, but I think like I tried to go with some stuff that like they actually brought tension. Like, oh, what's gonna happen, or oh, please don't have like this right now. And I think we tried to assess it from that way, like to really feel like you felt like actual anxiety when this happened. Yeah. So take it away, Morgan.
So we'll start off with Circle of Protections. So any of the various ones that they've printed. Those definitely have caused some fear to happen when they resolve.
No, Circle Protections actually, I guess, generated. I guess you guys have heard the term "the fear" in Magic. Are you guys familiar with
I'm
that?
not familiar with
All
that,
right.
no.
So there was an article written, I believe it was Dan Paskins. This is like really old school. So this might have been from the dojo.
Tell us the story, Grandpa.
For very old school Star City. But basically, he's a guy that liked to play a lot of red decks.
Once upon a time.
Yeah, I'll try to shorten it. They like to play a lot of red decks, and when people play red decks, they haven't had as many like hosers that really crush red decks lately. But back in the day, they had Circle Protections, Chill, Warmth, like
Just
all these
chill.
cards that just destroy red decks. And basically, like the fear is like, oh, like am I going to dilute my deck so that I can possibly beat these cards? But that overall is going to make your deck worse. Whereas the better strategy is just to just play your deck because they still have to draw that card. you know. And if they don't draw their card, they're probably going to be dead. So that's where that originated. But yeah, but
I mean, that's how I felt as a young red mage, going like, please don't have circle protect. No.
you see planes, you're like, no.
So next up, we have Delver of Secrets, and I can say that having played against this card, oh yeah, it gives you the fear. You're just like, nah, I don't want.
Please don't flip. Please don't flip. Please.
You
don't.
could just stay a 1/1. You could just stay a 1/1 human for as long as you want. Don't have that Jeff Goldblum-esque horrible fly transformation. No one needs that. I think the worst thing too is like it flips on instant or sorcery. Any deck that was playing this loves having any of those. So you're just like, oh, look at this cool card I get to draw as well.
Oh yeah, it's like, oh look, oh lightning bolt. Oh, so the perfect. I get it. Oh, mana leak. Oh yeah, I didn't want to kill that anyways.
Or Ancient Grudge against Affinity.
We did that on Monday with 2 Delver of Secrets. I bet my opponent felt a lot of anxiety. So
yeah, that's one of those cards. Like, yeah, you see it more obviously in Legacy or even Vintage, but a little bit in Modern.
Yeah,
I like to like to jam some Delvers in Modern. Not as good though.
Speaking of cards that cause anxiety when they flip,
Yeah.
how about some Bonfire of the Damned?
Yeah, I could say I enjoyed giving people the fear with that card for sure. It was a fan favorite, and I mean, what other card in here just has like a gif of causing like just utter decimation to your opponent?
Yeah, I could say Kibler's probably very fearful of this
He has
card.
nightmares about this.
Yeah.
Well, I think like if you talk about like that tension, right? Like the miracle draw step, like where you had to like stop and look at it, like especially if you knew you were just like, oh my god, if he draws Bonfire, I'm just like dead. Just like do I have a Bonfire? Like no, my poor mana guys. Oh.
Next up, Dark Ritual, because ain't nobody doing anything good with this card. Like good at is in like fair, I should say. So definitely when someone's like Dark Ritual, you're like, oh no.
Yeah, I played against many Dark Rituals in my day. Whether it's most commonly seen in Storm decks and Legacy now, but also. Even if it's just like a Suicide Black deck, like other decks back, when Urza Saga was out, and Standard, you can go like turn 1 Dark Ritual, Carnophage, another 1-drop. Okay, beat that. And a lot of times you couldn't. So yeah, like I said, nothing fair is happening when your opponent casts a Dark Ritual. So you just have to be like, I hope I'm not dead.
That actually leads to the next card the one I suggested, which was Entomb, because it's the same thing. When your opponent casts Entomb, you're not like, oh, you just don't want to draw that card, like, you know what I mean? But conveniently, Dark Ritual into Entomb, Animate Dead, or Exhume,
or Shallow Grave.
These are all things that happen and are really, really upsetting. So like whenever your opponent like plays Entomb, and a lot of times like in Legacy, it's like end of turn, like end of your turn, like Entomb, and you're just like, oh no.
Yeah, it's the Entomb. It's just like, man, I really hope he doesn't have a reanimate or like
exactly.
whatever.
You get that bad sweat, right? You're just like, what am I gonna die to today?
Next up in that in a similar vein of ain't nobody doing anything fair with this card, Lion's Eye Diamond.
So Storm, Dredge, these are real decks.
Yeah,
in Legacy anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're that's a card where it's like, oh, that card looks so bad, but it's like, wait, how do they? Oh no.
Oh, I know, little kid Mike was like looking at that card, going, "This is dumb. No one can even play it. Why would you discard your hand?" And now I'm going, "Oh, please don't discard your hand."
Oh, Belcher's another deck that is found in.
Oh,
yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, nobody's doing anything fair with Lion's Eye Diamond. You just be like, you just have to cross your fingers and hope you're not dead on turn 1.
Yeah. Now let's do a complete polar shift and name Thalia, Guardian of the Thraben, the fairest of fair, as far as that is concerned. But this card again is like, if you're playing, these Lion's Eye Diamond Dark Ritual decks, you're like, why? Thorn of Amethyst on a 2/1 first striker is pretty good, it turns out.
Yeah, I think this could be like any number. So like Thalia, like against Storm decks, or like Kataki against Affinity, or like any of the hate bears can kind of be thrown into here. But yeah, Thalia is the one.
Anything that can be vialed in on 2, probably terrifying.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Maybe Vile is just like the mouth of hell. Like just like Vile. What foul creatures coming out?
Oh, no.
What thing am I no longer allowed to do? Can I not search my library? Can I not cast this spell? Do I not get to have any artifacts? What? Tell me what?
Just going on some
You monster.
Lovecraftian rant over there. Jeez.
And our last buddy on this list, Squadron Hawk.
Yeah.
All right, now, even Morgan, you said like, oh, shouldn't it just be Jace? It shouldn't just be Jace. These terrifying little birds signaled your death on turn 2. You knew it wasn't going to happen for like another 20 turns, but you knew you were dying.
It's just like a Hitchcock film, right?
It's the actual birds. They're all just sitting on the playground watching you. Wait. That's actually unreal.
It's pretty good. Bravo, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You win the list.
Yay! I won something.
It comes with no cash prize, no prize of any kind.
That's fine.
But I don't even know what it gets. I guess pride.
Yeah, I'll
right.
take it. I have a whole lot of that, so
Now you have more. +1.
yay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good list. We came to a pretty good consensus of cards that make you scared, make you feared.
But feel free to share your cards. What you're afraid? Tweet at us. Let us know. What are you afraid of someone casting?
Whether it's art, whether it's actually like playing against that card.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, we'd like to hear.
Are we going to make a hashtag for this one?
Hashtag spooky cards.
Sure. Hashtag spooky cards. Yes. Let's move on and go into the wrap up and coming up this weekend. So, obviously, Mike, you're heading to Indy a little bit earlier than everyone else because you have an RPTQ to play in.
I do. I get to go play some Modern at 2:00 on Friday.
That's so weird.
I know. If I get done in time, I can play F&M. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say to that.
Hopefully you're not playing F&M.
I know.
That's bad.
Yeah, it is bad. So
But hey, if it goes really late at night, you get that sleeping special.
I do get a free sleeping special, which is pretty sweet. That was Pastimes doesn't normally come through with like cool things, so this was nice.
Yeah.
As far as Modern, I've said a couple times I've sort of felt a little lost in the format just because I felt like Twin is okay and not really like what I want to play, and Blue White Tron, as much as I love the deck, like has some bad matchups, and I don't want to take it. I don't want to take this to a tournament where I can lose to like Blue Red, or I know I have no chance of beating like Red Green Tron with my Blue White Tron deck. So we've been trying out Dave's second place states list, and we've
Just had the needle there.
we had to throw it out there. And we're probably going to try that. So, but I'll be there all weekend. So come wish me luck, or stay away from me if I'm really angry Friday afternoon. I can't help myself.
No, I get to say it. Proud of you. I've been living vicariously through Mike's testing. Like, he's been playing in a lot of like Moto leagues and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, Mike, how's it going? Yeah, is it going good? Any cards you want to talk about? Yeah.
A lot of neck scratching.
Yeah.
You got that, Delver?
Yeah.
So the deck does some cool things. I like where it attacks the format. So we're gonna try it.
So we also have GPINDY obviously over the weekend. It's going to be standard, yeah, it'll be pretty awesome. I think we're all planning on attending. That's the current plan as it stands. So that'll be fun to see, and we'll report back. Probably have a lot more to talk about. Next week when we can all give our mini tournament reports, as it were.
I like how you said all. That means you're locked in.
Yeah, probably.
He said it on here. If it doesn't go,
Yeah,
it's
everybody just
set in stone.
Refer back to this segment.
Sure.
With us an hour and 40 minutes or so.
Whatever cards we lose to, you can listen to us add to hashtag spooky cards.
And then we also have a GP Lion.
Leon. I think.
Whatever.
It's in France. It's another one of those French
Yeah,
ones.
see,
Wow.
like
You don't like those.
nothing
Morgan.
against.
I would just like to take this moment that I'm the only person that hasn't insulted the French today. So
I was referring to Morgan's comment earlier about
Oh, okay. So it's all
French
my
words
fault.
being difficult to pronounce.
Yeah, Leon, which is Battle for Zendikar Limited, and then we also have GP Porto Alegre, which is Modern. So lots of tournaments over the weekend. Anyway, so I was Star City Games Dallas, which is Modern, and important to point out that Jerry T is actually going to be in the booth alongside Cedric Phillips. So this could be, what we kind of see going forward. Maybe I don't know if he is a going to be a permanent fixture going forward within the rotation of the coverage team or not. But I mean, I'm sure
Someone's got to pick up the slack for Cedric switching into his new role.
yeah, geez. So maybe that's the case. I hope it is. I definitely would enjoy seeing Jerry Thompson commentate on the format as much as he could.
Yeah, I think Jerry will do a good job. He's stepped in a couple times before and did commentary for SEG, and he's definitely somebody that knows the modern format. I mean, he pretty much knows every format. He does the daily deck thing and on SEG, so he knows everything. He knows everything. Any deck that you could throw out there, he's probably seen it before.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I think he'll have a lot to contribute to the commentary, so it should be fun.
Yeah.
I won't be watching because I'll be playing Magic, but
Yeah.
for all you guys not going to any GPs or anything.
Yeah, you guys tell us how it is. But anyway, so that's pretty much it for this episode. So you can always follow us on Twitter. We are at YourEndStep. And then we have an email address, which is at yourendstep@gmail.com, website at yourendstep.com. You can find the website, the podcast on iTunes as well as on MTGcast. So please, comment, like us on Facebook. We have Facebook. It is facebook.com/@yourendstep. Also check out Comic Town Gaming Center on Facebook. You can just search for Comic Town Gaming Center. Yeah, and I mean that is pretty much everything for this week. We'll catch you guys next time, and you have a great one. Bye.